How's it going there, Nevaeh?
Good. How are you?
Great. Thank you very much. Am I getting you from Ohio?
You are.
The beautiful state of Ohio, which I do want to ask you about, but I believe you made your Impact debut back in April. How long did you have to kind of keep it a secret for that you were going to Impact?
Oh, it took a while for it to air the way that we're filming with the current situation. So I think it was about 5 weeks roughly. I couldn't just shout from the treetops like everyone else.
Right, and you debuted in a big way, and fortunately, you've been able to work with people that you've known for years. Is there anybody that you directly credit for bringing you to Impact, or are you just going to say, well, it's my talent that got me here?
I'd like to think it was my talent that got me here, but I mean, you never know who's watching you though.
Exactly, exactly. And again, you made a debut in a big way. Do you have an ultimate goal for what you want to accomplish in Impact? Is it as simple as I want to be the world champion and that's that?
Well, I mean, I think any female in wrestling wants to be on top. Definitely, the knockouts title, but I am such a huge fan of tag team wrestling that I, cross my fingers and hope that the tag titles get brought back the same way as a lot of the women who enjoy tag wrestling.
True, and you are a former tag team champion. Is that what you wanted to do at the beginning when you got into wrestling? I believe it's 16 years ago?
Yeah, it's been just about 16 years ago, and no, not really. It wasn't really tag that I liked. I kind of just liked the athleticism and the ability that it took to get into wrestling. And then, like, my love for tag wrestling kind of developed about 2 to 3 years in. I noticed, oh, this is such a different style, and it makes me much happier. I just love tag wrestling.
Were you training to be a wrestler when you were in high school?
I actually was asked about, like, yeah, have you been trained? And I said, well, I mean, I've been in the ring, a couple times. I was like, I'm still in high school. I don't really have any means of pursuing just yet. And they had an all-women show, and they were short a girl when I was up in Cincinnati, the Heartland Wrestling Association. And they asked me if there was any way I could perform on this show. And I was like, well, I'm not fully trained. Like, I'm pretty self-taught at this moment. And they're like, okay, well, we'll line up a few practices for you. We'll go from here. So I did a few practices, jumped in the ring for that show, and I never left.
Wow, the history of Ohio with regard to wrestling always intrigues me because it's just so coincidental that all these developmental territories and these great indies were in Ohio. Were you aware of that your whole childhood?
No, I had no idea, actually. It wasn't until I was more around the Cincinnati area that I started to learn all of the great people around and how fortunate I really was to be in the area that I'm in.
Interesting. So now that you're in Impact, of course, big things are happening and you're on weekly television and all that. Is there something that you're most proud of since signing to Impact?
I would say that because of my long duration in the business before coming to Impact, I'm proud of the fact that I believe that I'm there based solely on my talent and they see what I have to offer.
When exactly did this become a career and not just something that you were doing on weekends or part-time?
Actually, pretty early in, because of the area that I came in, we had weekly shows that ran. So within my first year, I was already wrestling 3 to 4 times a week. And then, I finished out high school, and then, I pursued some college, and I did all of that. But so I kind of have had wrestling full time without it being full time, if that makes sense. I had to work other jobs and stuff to kind of help support the dream I was chasing. But from the get-go, I've wrestled 3 to 4 times a week since I started.
Was it early on that most of your peers were wrestlers, or is that something that evolved to once you had more of an established career?
More of an established career. I didn't know really anyone in wrestling coming into it.
So you didn't have that uncle growing up who sort of did indies who said you should do this?
No, as a matter of fact, I don't think there's a single person in my family who was even a fan of wrestling. It was never talked about, never seen. It wasn't until I was in high school, a few buddies were talking about it. I'm like, what exactly are you talking about? And then I saw some matches, and it was just instant love. It was like, oh, that athleticism, that ability, that takes a true athlete to be able to think on their feet that way. And to me, I was just so competitive. It was right up my alley.
Some of the people I've had the pleasure of interviewing on the Impact roster have talked about being in show choir or coming from a musical theater background. Is that you at all?
No, I came predominantly from just athletics. I traveled around the world playing traveling AAU basketball and then soccer and then the softball, and I mean I had very little. I had ballet and tap when I want to say 5 or 6, and I was not good at it. So that is not something that I pursued, and I just stuck with the athletics of it.
Well, one of the people that made reference to the show choir and all that was your buddy Sammy. Have you ever heard him sing before?
I have not, but I mean that's something I might have to try and find out now.
Well, back to you here. Have you lived in Ohio your whole life?
I have, born and raised.
I'm very curious about that. I had the pleasure of going to a couple of cities in Ohio the last couple of years as a travel writer. I went out to Columbus, I went out to Hocking Hills, that area, never Dayton or anything like that. What is it that keeps you based in Ohio?
For me, I'm definitely one of those that likes the different weathers and the changes. So Ohio does offer, all 4 seasons, very unpredictably, but we get all 4 of them. And for me, like I grew up being, my dad was a huge sports fan, so I grew up loving, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cincinnati Reds because of this area. And then, the Dayton Dragons came, so it was kind of like this was the place to be. A lot of stars all across the board, from entertainment to sports, come from Ohio, and I've honestly just never had the desire to live anywhere other than Ohio.
Well, putting all that together here, the wrestling that you've done has always been tied to Ohio, your faction and all that. Who is it that kind of led that to wanting to put Ohio out there? Because obviously some people aren't very proud of where they're from and all that.
Me and just a few of us together that were from Ohio had just been talking about all the successful people that had come from different parts of Ohio. And in our area, there was no one really that represented our area. And we were looking to put our area on the map.
And is it Dayton that you're most proud of?
It is. Probably because that's where I was born. So that's where I hold close to my heart.
Interesting. Has Impact ever performed live in or around Dayton?
Impact has done like their Impact on Twitch. They have done those in the Dayton area, a couple of those.
Cool. So somebody who hasn't been to Dayton like myself before, what are some of the places that they should go, like restaurants or anything like that that may be open in the near future?
Pizza lovers most definitely need to check out Marion's Pizza. It is one of the best pizza places I've ever had. And then more of the Cincinnati area, I suppose, but where Skyline Chili originated, that is another go-to. When my family, because I have family all over the U.S., when they come to visit, those are the 2 places we always make sure we go. So those are my go-tos.
Okay, I am taking note of all of that. And back to you here. Big match coming up on Impact this week for you. Anything you could tell us about what to expect from it besides a great match?
Well, I mean, it's a no DQ match, so you can imagine the frustration that Havoc and I have faced with Kira and Tasha just really not wanting to mind their own business. So a no DQ match, I would say I peg Havoc and I kind of like the Monster and the Punisher. Like, she's there, she'll play with you, she'll destroy you. I'm there, I'll destroy you and leave. It's kind of one of those, you put us in a no DQ match, you've been messing with us. All right, you're getting what you asked for.
Absolutely looking forward to watching that. Away from wrestling, a lot of us, as I talked about, have been holed up the past couple of months with watching much more TV than we ever have. Any TV or film recommendations that you could pass along?
Well, I mean, I obviously tune into Impact every Tuesday. That is definitely something I look forward to. Even before being fortunate enough to join Impact, it was something I always watched on Tuesdays. And I am kind of one of those jump into Netflix and watch way too many episodes at once. And I'm a huge fan of Lucifer right now.
Lucifer. Okay, have to check that out now.
Lucifer.
2 quick questions and then you are free for me. The first one, as somebody who exercises a lot, what is the best music to get you motivated and in the gym?
Okay, so my playlist is a little random, but I am definitely a fan of Queen. I'm one of those, if Bohemian Rhapsody comes on, you will never see me change that, and I will go through a full routine, listen to that on repeat if I need to.
I didn't know if I was going to get the most metal named band ever because of the OVE alliance. Are you not a big metal person? You just like a little hard rock through the means of Queen?
Basically, yep. I like a little bit of hard rock. I do enjoy most music, but I am definitely a listen to Queen and Prince type of girl.
So in closing, because you've been so generous with your time here, any last words for the kids?
Hey, anything's possible. Pursue your dream. I was a young girl chasing sports who wanted to prove to be more, and look where I'm at now.
Paltrocast.